All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of what, of course, is expected on day 3 of the Indian Prime Minister's visit, we're being joined in by WION's Siddhant Sibil and Molly Gambhiro, both joining us live in this broadcast. And Siddhant, let me in fact begin with you. Bring us up to speed with what is in fact lined up for the Indian Prime Minister today.
Well, Mohammed, I just came outside the White House. The Indian Prime Minister has just left the White House for his next engagement. Essentially, we know that at the White House, he led the technological handshake event alongside the US President Joe Biden. Now, we know that when it comes to the technological handshake event, who's who of the American and Indian industry were present, including Alphabet and Apple's
All right, Siddhant,
CEO,
we'll have to interrupt you there because the Indian Prime
Minister
Minister and the American President are in fact addressing the media. Let's in fact listen into what's being said there.
और हम इसको बहुत सुरक्षित कहें हमारी बच्चों के लिए, हमारे बालकों के लिए और हमारे पे जो गतिशीलता है
We're sticking up for our values and the vision of the world. And so our partnership between India and the United States will go a long way, in my view, to define what the 21st century looks like. And our technological cooperation will be a big part of defining our partnership. So we look forward to continue working with all of you and on our voyage of discovery, as was referenced, and to building a better future. And I want to thank all the CEOs again for being here. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the Prime Minister to say nice things about me.
President Biden and all friends here, in a way, saying sometimes it's a little difficult to say too much in front of all the press present here. But first of all, I would like to thank President Biden for participating in this event. And you have seen that from agriculture to space, there are all the sectors represented here that touch our lives in every way. And technology is something that touches our lives, and all technology sectors are represented here. And there are well-established firms here and startups here as well, and both of them are working together to create a new world. And I'm very pleased that under the leadership of President Biden, technology, understanding the importance of technology, the progress that America has made in the area of technology, and the youth in India, thanks to its talent, has created an identity for itself in the world. So this coming together of talent and technology, I believe this is definitely a guarantee for a bright future. This morning, the discussion we've had with just a few friends, but this morning is with us, giving us a guarantee for a bright future. And this is a very small group of people, but this is a very promising group, a wonderful group, and one which is going to give a direction to the world, which is going to build the future of the world. And with the resolve for a better future, the vision of President Biden, the aspirations of India, the strength that President Biden has, and the possibilities that India represents, we have an opportunity to take this forward. And therefore, I would like to congratulate my friend, Secretary Raimondo. She visited India. She took out a lot of time for India, and what she herself experienced there and what she brought is taking forward here. And I can never thank President Biden enough, and I thank you all very much.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for coming in, folks. Press to leave now. Thank you.
लगभग समाप्त हो गया है।
All right, so that, of course, was the joint statement given out by the Indian Prime Minister and also the American President Joe Biden, as they were flanked by the leaders of the business industry. We saw Sundar Pichai, we also saw Tim Cook of Apple, amongst a whole host of other members of the business community there. And the Indian Prime Minister and the American President were, of course, a part of this discussion, as many aspects of how trade ties and business ties between the two nations could, of course, be increased. And Siddhant, if I can bring you back on to this, we were talking about how the Indian Prime Minister has got a pretty busy day ahead, but we just saw and heard from the Indian Prime Minister there. They were flanked by the top tech business leaders of the United States of America. Now, what is, of course, being done here, Siddhant, is that, the United States of America and India are trying to consciously increase not just people-to-people contact, but also business contacts between the two nations.
Well, yes, Mohammed, technology forms a crucial pillar of this relationship. Now, both sides want to be technological partners, trusted technology partners, that is the word. But essentially, this meeting that has just concluded, in fact, the Indian Prime Minister has just left the White House. The focus remains as to how there can be an industry-to-industry collaboration. Who's who of Indian and the American businesses were present inside. Sunita Williams, the Indian American astronaut, was also present. And essentially now, if we talk about the larger technological partnership we saw earlier this year, both India and the United States launching that crucial critical technology and emerging technology initiative. The American NSA was in Delhi just last week for that, the 1.5 dialogue. But if we see where the future goes, as the Indian Prime Minister just at this meeting, as you heard, highlighted that India needs technology and America can play an important role in this way, and that remains the buzzword between the two sides. The American president, of course, talked about the shared values and how both countries can work together. But this relationship goes out of technology as well. There are several pillars now, especially after this visit of the Indian Prime Minister in this relationship, be it people-to-people relationship. There are 4 million Indian-American diaspora members, be it trade. America is one of, in fact, it is the largest trading partner of India, or whether it is defense. In fact, this visit was, I could say, almost 50 to 60% all about defense, with crucial defense announcements coming, whether it's the GE deal, whether it's the Predator drone deal, or whether it's the larger co-production as well. In fact, Indian soldiers will be placed, in fact, liaison officers will be placed in various US assets. That is another significant, perhaps a first in terms of the defense cooperation, a larger defense cooperation. But all in all, this visit has its last day today. The Indian Prime Minister now goes for the for the lunch at the state dinner along with VP Kamala Harris, and then there will be a meeting of the entrepreneurs, followed by the diaspora event, and that essentially sums up the day. But a lot of engagement, back-to-back engagement, and engagement that showcases that how India and the United States are essentially working with each other in several aspects possible to make sure that at a time of great geopolitical flux, both countries can work together.
Absolutely, indeed. That's a crucial bit of, the puzzle, because India and the United States have, of course, come together, it appears, because this is a relationship that is being forged, that is being strengthened, but the levers of this are being pulled by the rise of China. So how crucial has been the rise of China and America's policy of containment that has prodded the United States to, in fact, strengthen its equation with India?
China remains the talk or point of conversation for not only India and the United States, but other countries, not only in the Indo-Pacific, but across the world. Rise of China is welcomed by everyone. It has been welcomed by India, by US. External Affairs Minister has been several times pointing out to rise of China as an important development of this century. But a rise of an aggressive China is something that is of a challenge. Both India and US, not naming China, but in several words, have mentioned China during the visit, which has happened in last 48 hours, whether it's Indo-Pacific, calling for free and open Indo-Pacific. And the worry over China is that it wants to form a new rules-based, a new order, which of course violates the rules-based order which is currently under place. And in that attempt, it is making new territorial claims from India when it comes to Arunachal Pradesh, to Senkaku Islands in Japan. So largely, the American side and the Indian side both are acutely aware of this concern related to China, but largely that is not a major factor in that sense. I would like to place it like it is a catalyst in both India and the US coming together. Quad is an example of that. Quad is something that initially was formed in the first decade of this century, but again we saw it not having that energy or not having that interest, especially from the Australian side. But again, it has come into being since 2017. We have seen official level meeting, then of course the leaders level meeting, and that shows that how these four countries are working with each other, not against China, but on a perhaps positive agenda. And the fact that the US President Joe Biden mentioned about the Quad from his from the address at the South Lawns is another significant factor.
Absolutely indeed. Siddhant, do continue to stay on with us. Meanwhile, I'm told that we've got Molly Gambhir, who's also joining us live from Washington, D.C. at this moment. Now, Molly, looking at the events that have in fact unfolded and also of what is planned for the day today, what is quite clear is the United States has pulled off all stops in trying to woo India. You know, it is something that we would, of course, be looking at and be talking in terms of how India's relationship with the United States will, of course, develop from here. But India has a clear foreign policy of its own. India does not take sides. India does not sit in any camps. India is a nation that follows a policy of strategic autonomy. With that being said, how do you see the India-US equation going forward? Because quite clearly, the United States, by strengthening its relationship with India, also has quite a few expectations out of India. Like, for instance, it would perhaps want India to be more aligned with the way the United States wants it to be in the context of the Russia-Ukraine war.
Right, and which is why, Saleh, this maiden state visit of the Indian Prime Minister here in the United States is crucial, because it comes at a very interesting time when we are looking at both America and India looking at each other as trusted, reliable partners, wanting to deepen their cooperation, looking at China as a common adversary. And the message that was sent out by both the leaders in their addresses yesterday as well, stressing on the need for a stable Indo-Pacific. And that, of course, is the common thread that also brings them closer together. When it comes to partnering in terms of trying to diversify supply chains, the US sees India as a very crucial element of that partnership, because it wants to try and wean US supply chains away from China. It also hopes to wean New Delhi's military